Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with this week's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, you hear me say this every week. These are companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies, and I highly recommend that you check them out. So take 3 minutes, listen to our sponsor shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be very glad you did. We'd like to say thank you to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling rosters or results. For me, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is a game changer. And even if your state uses a different platform, you can be a home campus school. Go to homecampus.com to find out how. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just love the Huddle platform. Our student athletes love the videos and our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches, how about parents and sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out all their great products. We also like to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. It's probably one of the best purchases I ever made. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com and take a look at how their fundraising app works. We used it at our school with great success, and so will you. They have a lot of other great platforms. Check it out. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We'd like to say thank you to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 schools and districts. It's professional graphic design made easy. Gipper provides you with easy-to-use tools that help you tell your story, engage your audience, and grow your brand. Go to Gipper.com for more information, and don't forget to mention the podcast. We'd also like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We'd like to say thank you to Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, digital ticketing. They're still the number one digital ticketing supplier to schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and a whole lot more? Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, or a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, raise more money, and bring your entire community together. That's hometown.com. And we want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for student athletes, for coaches, even for parents. And the information that would come back on these surveys was almost always over the top positive. We also got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents, but it gave us a chance to listen to their concern and usually solve it before it turned into something big. But having all of that positive data, that 98%, was incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going out to Arizona today, and our guest is Kate Fitzgerald. Kate has a tremendous background in athletics as an athlete, as a coach, as an entrepreneur. I'm going to share just a little bit of her bio, but we're going to ask her to take a deeper dive on that. She was a Division I athlete playing for Arizona State's beach volleyball team, also did some coaching with them. She is the founder and CEO of an organization called VB America. The VB, of course, stands for volleyball. She's also the co-founder of SportX Student Athlete Venture Studio. Excited to hear about all of that and more. Kate Fitzgerald, welcome, finally, to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. That was a very kind, warm, welcoming introduction.
Oh, well, again, we only have the very best guests on our podcast. We always like to let our listeners, though, find out a little bit about our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Take us through those middle school, high school, and even your college days, and then we'll take a break. So, what's the Kate Fitzgerald journey in 2 minutes?
Oh, that's tough. Just kidding. I was born in Denver, Colorado, but I've grown up completely in Arizona. So I ended up going out to college out there as well, and I'm a Phoenician through and through. I have two younger brothers who are incredible. All of us are very involved in sports. My one brother plays basketball at D3 in at Pomona, and he was recruited there, which is incredible. I'm loving it. The other one plays lacrosse and is still in high school. So very athletic family, and we just love the world of sports. I could talk about that alone, probably this entire podcast. But a little more about myself. I played soccer most of my life growing up. I started volleyball later in high school. I started volleyball first time at a club level in going into my freshman year of high school and beach volleyball then into my sophomore year of high school. I ended up actually originally signing and committing my junior year to Missouri State University. However, 2020, class of high school 2020. So COVID hit, and they ended up having, just as many universities did at the time, to defund certain programs and to adjust financially around that. And so Missouri State had to adjust financially their beach volleyball program, which led me to transfer portal was not even a thing yet. So I got an NLI release and ended up walking on to the Arizona State University beach volleyball team. And then from there, I was very fortunate to have a wonderful career at ASU, earn scholarship, get involved in many extracurriculars, and now I'm here today talking to you.
Wow. I always love to hear the stories. And you're the second person I've heard use that term, again, sheltered life, I guess, Phoenician. Uh, First time I heard that, I was going, what? Oh, yeah, okay, I get it. But no, very cool. I want to go all the way back to let's say middle school age, growing up, backyard. Was there a basketball hoop in your driveway? You mentioned soccer. Were you kicking the ball around? You had brothers. Was there tackle football in the backyard? What was that like, maybe pre-organized sports?
Oh, definitely. My parents are both very active. I think I remember them telling me their first date was on a hike, actually. So, like, my family's active through and through. We are highly competitive with each other. Every game night probably ends in some sort of disagreement, I would say, between my brothers and I growing up.
Love it.
We're highly competitive. But my sports journey, I started, I think, in dance and soccer and trying all the different sports up until about through first grade. In second grade is when I started doing club soccer and really just focused on that. But in the backyard, yeah, I mean, I remember in the street in front of my house, that's where my brothers and I would throw the football. I actually vividly remember, I don't know what age I was, but I vividly remember being on the beach with my dad and probably nearly in tears. I was so frustrated. I was like, this is how I throw a football. He was like, no, you're going to know how to properly throw a football. That is not right. Like, you can't throw it sideways like this. That's not how you throw a football. And so I remember my dad and brothers at a very young age saying, like, you will know how to properly throw a football. Still don't know if it's great, but it's probably better than whatever it was at the time. And then my mom actually gave me my love for volleyball. Like I said, I played competitive soccer. That was my sport. And everything volleyball was a passion. My mom had played growing up. She had a love for it. So from as young as I can remember, she would pepper in the backyard with me. And she taught me everything. And then I ended up learning basics just through peppering and messing around with her my whole life. And so when I started high school, that's really where I had learned a lot from. I did a couple middle school teams for fun with friends, but that's probably my favorite memory as a youth, as a kid, is peppering with my mom.
Oh, well, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but on the football thing, as a, you know, football coach for most of my career, our daughters did learn how to throw a football properly, and that's probably one of my biggest regrets as a coach is I didn't force my daughter to be the quarterback on our high school football team where I was coaching. She ended up doing volleyball and basketball and did very well, by the way. Um, your volleyball path, that's, I guess to me, that's unusual. Volleyball is one of those sports we all know, the club presence is very big, and yet you you became a D1 player without having gone through, that club experience initially. Yeah, as you got into high school, was were you and again working on all those basic skills with your mom? I can see how that would be a huge benefit. When you got to high school, were you suddenly the hotshot newcomer, or did you have to claw your way up to varsity? What was that experience like?
Oh, definitely not at all. So I remember I was playing soccer and it was finishing my eighth grade year. I played for Blackhawks, which now it's Phoenix Rising and there's ESC. It's changed a lot since obviously when I was there. However, recruiters came to start talking like as you go into high school, this is what you would do if you wanted to play soccer in college. And I remember sitting there and thinking, that sounds terrible. I do not want to play soccer in college. I love this sport. The conditioning test alone like threw me away from it, which was ironic considering the conditioning test we still ended up having to do. But going into high school, I made the freshman team of volleyball. I didn't make varsity until my junior year in high school. I did very much a traditional path. I came in, made a freshman team. I was setter, and I think I was team captain my freshman year, and I was setter. And then sophomore year, I was a libero, and then which is ironic now, because I've grown a lot since then. However, I was libero my sophomore year, and I was libero for my club team as well my sophomore year. Going into my junior year is when I actually made varsity. For the first time. I had jumped up a couple times sophomore year when they needed help, but my junior year of high school is when I made indoor varsity and started playing outside all around for indoor for the club. And then in my senior year, I was also on varsity as well. However, I started beach volleyball my sophomore year competitively. My freshman year, I was on the freshman team for beach volleyball as well. I found out about a club locally in Arizona, and that's when I started beach volleyball as a club. I was really a go-getter at the time, and I thought I would play both in college. Very thankful I couldn't and didn't. But that's kind of where my journey. So in no way was it a traditional, I've played club volleyball since I was 12 years old. I started college recruitment. I didn't even truly start college recruitment until my junior year of college or of high school, excuse me.
Right. No, well, again, I appreciate you, taking us on that journey. You mentioned the whole, COVID thing in Missouri State, but prior to that, as you are getting into, let's say your senior year, junior year, was that a conscious goal of yours? I want to play college, or I want to play D1, or did that just those opportunities begin to present themselves as you became a better player?
Definitely was a goal. It was never like opportunities were presented to me where a coach or anyone reached out and said, "We want you to play in college." It was very much like I said, I went to my parents and said, "I want to play college volleyball." And I, at the time, originally my sophomore year, said which I was on, like I said, the JV team for indoor, I was on B team for club, and I just started for the first time part-time club beach volleyball. And I was like, I want to play in college. And my parents are very supportive and they were like, okay, well, what do we need to do? What do you need to do to get there? And I, at the time, said, I want to play both, be a dual athlete. That was still a thing when I was my sophomore year. That is long gone now. But beach volleyball was still growing. So I was like, I want to do dual athlete, play both. So going in then summer going into my junior year, really started doing high competitive tournaments for beach volleyball, started filming what I was doing, clipping and creating videos to send out to coaches, talking to people, how do I get recruited, doing a lot of privates, reaching out to coaches around me to train and understand. That's when I decided to switch from libero and train and learn how to be an outside all-around hitter for indoor at that time. And in my junior year, I was actually a full-time club indoor player and a full-time club beach volleyball player. And I was sending out videos to for both, clipping all my games, tournaments after everything in the car, sending out as many recruiting emails as I could. And as we know with recruitment, if you hear back from one out of like 20, that's
Sure.
good. I think that people nowadays expect to hear back from everyone. Like if you're sending out 20 emails and you hear back from one to five, that's congratulations.
Oh, yeah.
And so um, it was about halfway through my junior year of high school, I started getting feedback and I started actually getting responses from coaches. And I saw at the indoor level that I would be sticking more at D2. And I love that. My brother's a D3 athlete. I think there's so many benefits. I knew I simply just wanted to play at the highest level I possibly could. And so I started hearing back from more D1s for beach volleyball. And then over time, a lot of the schedules started overlapping, and it wasn't fair to either coaching staff or either team to continue playing both beach and indoor. So halfway through my junior year, I decided to pursue beach volleyball full time, really dive in, do as many tournaments as I could, send out as many videos as I could to coaches. And about 2 months after that decision is when I began conversation with Missouri State, had a visit, and about 3 months later, I committed.
Wow. And again, sharing that whole process, and you're absolutely right about the return, the responses to what you send out. I would say, 5 out of 20, that would be excellent. I
Probably.
think it's probably close to 1 out of, 30 or 40. But obviously you had the skills that they were looking for. Let's go and take our first break. We're coming back with more. Our guest today is Kate Fitzgerald. Tremendous background and tremendous lessons, I think, for athletic directors. We're going to get into all of that and more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the official high school sports administration platform for a number of states for thousands of athletic directors. And even if your state uses a different platform for scheduling and rosters, you can still be a home campus school. I'm telling you, the athletic clearance and eligibility feature alone, it's a game changer. Go to homecampus.com for more information, and don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, our parents loved the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com. Join the 8 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is Kate Fitzgerald. Kate, you took our listeners on your journey, high school, indoor volleyball, beach volleyball, recruiting, and COVID. Missouri State didn't work out, but you ended up at Arizona State. How did that all happen?
Yeah, it was definitely ironic. I never wanted to stay in state. I wanted to use college athletics and the opportunity to play at that level as a opportunity to leave and have the ability to travel, get out of state, and not have the burden of an out of state tuition or student loans. So that's really was my a huge goal of mine also with playing college athletics. Well, when COVID hit, I was graduating high school. It was 2 nights before high school graduation. We got on a team Zoom call, and the coach at the time just started crying and was like, "I'm so sorry, girls. Like, this is what's happening. This is how the team's changing. This is what's going to happen. I recommend you get NLI releases and try to go somewhere else." However, it was COVID. Everyone was frozen. No one was giving money away, and there wasn't, a lot of opportunities really, especially as an incoming freshman 2 months before school starts. So I decided to really take a risk and said, I think there'll be something out there for me. I want to play at the best I can, and got the NLI release, in which reached out for the very first time to, at the time, the coach Brad Keenan at ASU and said, "Is there any way I'm local? Will you please let me walk on?" I had some coaches around Arizona, give him a little information as well and help me. And he was like, "Sure, we can let you walk on. You know, more than welcome. Please try. And then if you're able to do well, you can earn a scholarship." And so that's what I did. It was about, I finally got that final message from him a month before school started. So I enrolled a month before school started at ASU and walked onto the team. It was COVID. Practices were divided. I think our freshman class then had 8 at the time. We had around 20 girls on the team. And I was very fortunate, worked really hard freshman year and ended up playing in the very first tournament in the fives position. We had a girls in the twos position get 6, so I got bumped up from sixes to fives. If for anyone listening who knows anything about beach volleyball at the college level, and my partner and I were both freshmen, we went undefeated that weekend, which really secured our spot and ended up having a long career after that there.
Now, again, the getting immersed into that new team, new coach, new teammates. What's your recollection of that? Was it a steep learning curve, or did it just feel like, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be?
Um, a little bit of mix of both. I had a few local girls that I had well, not grown up, but I had been playing with from Arizona. So that was really nice because they were friends of mine that I could come into and already have. But in the end of the day, going into college athletics is its own Greek life. You have your teammates, they immerse you. And at ASU's athletic department does such a great job really immersing athletes together really quickly and hosting events and bringing opportunities for you to connect with not only your freshman class, but your team as a whole and other athletes as a whole. So obviously, I think I say it to everyone at some point during your college career, many times during your college career as an athlete, you're going to hate your sport. You're not going to like your coach. You're not going to like your teammates. That's bound to happen. But there's so many ways that you are able to bond with other people and just like create a community around your sport.
Right. Well, you mentioned Greek life. Sometimes it's a Greek tragedy. Uh, Now, not to minimize your athletic accomplishments, and we'll get into that later, but you were also very active on the student athlete leadership program. Can you share a little
Yes.
bit about how that happened? Because athletic directors are finding that those are great ways to build, culture, if you will, at their school with the student athlete leadership teams. How did that all happen for you?
It happened really organically. Coming into my sophomore year, I was sitting in our academic study hall area for athletes working on homework. And one of our associate athletic directors, he was in charge of what ASU has called the Champ Life program, went to our table and said, "Hey, all of you should go join SAC. It's a student athletic council. You guys would enjoy it, make some friends." And everyone was like, "Okay." And I did. I went and DM'd the Instagram. We have an Instagram account for our Student Athletic Leadership Council. DM them, said would love to get involved. That first year with COVID, everything was virtual. And finishing my sophomore year, the president at the time, I had truly just gotten involved. I wanted to meet new people and went to all the meetings and listened and learned. And at the end of my sophomore year, the current president called me and said, "We would like you to be president next year for the Student Athletic Council. We think you should run for it. And I said, no. I said, absolutely not. I was like, I don't want to. Thank you. That sounds like a lot of responsibility. I'm trying to launch this clothing line. I'm a full-time student. I actually studied biomedical sciences in undergrad. I wanted to be a nurse at the time. So I said no. And then 2 days later, they called me again. And then one of the other associate athletic directors who oversaw the Student Athletic Council sent me a message and was like, we will get someone to help with you. I think you should do it. I think you'd be a great fit. And so I said yes. And that at the time, again, a lot of the lawsuits hadn't changed. So it was a much smaller responsibility. However, over that summer, the Alston lawsuit happened, NIL was really ramping up. And what originally became, we'll have a couple events once a month, you'll talk to some people, ended up being full-blown presentations in front of all 650 athletes, meetings with all 200 athletes where they were Alston events and Pitchfork programming events, and really being a liaison between the athletics directors and the rest of the students. But the biggest call out I do want to say is I felt so supported by the athletic staff. So the current athletic director at ASU, Graham, when I stepped into all these roles, he was an associate athletic director, and he did a incredible job, as well as Christina Wambacher and everyone amongst the team, Bill Kennedy, to really listen to the students. And I think that is what helped rebrand the student athletic leadership team at ASU to get more athletes involved and wanting to be a part of the culture as a whole of Sun Devil Athletics is they did a wonderful job actually listening to myself and the team that was built around me of vice presidents, co-presidents, chairmen for our different boards, and said they got in the rooms and had those conversations with us to see how we can really like benefit as athletes who are doing the day-to-day work.
Yeah, when you get that buy-in at any level, at a high school, as college, student athlete leadership team, when you get that from the upper administration, it makes everything so much more effective. That's so cool to hear. Let's go and jump back to the athletic side. So, you were basically a starter for all 4 years in the beach volleyball program. Is that correct?
I'm not my senior year.
Oh,
I
okay.
actually Sorry, no, yeah, so I was very fortunate. I was able to start beginning of my freshman year. Like I said, that first tournament, we had a girl get sick and that pushed my partner and I up. From there, I did start and travel every single year, but my senior year we had a coaching shift. And the new leadership understandably wanted to build the program. So as a senior, if we had a sophomore who they believe they could build, that's important to the next culture as a new coaching staff coming in. And so my senior year, I actually ended up complete after the first tournament, completely benched until the Pac-12 championship. And 3 days before going into the Pac-12 championship, I got a call from the coach. I had not played in the starting lineup the entire season, and which was really, really difficult after being a 3 year starter, contributing a lot of wins to the program. I mean, my sophomore year, I had the most wins for the season contributing to the program individually. So I had played a lot, and then in senior year, just cold turkey benched, wasn't traveling. And then 3 days before, they called me and said, we're going to play you in the fours for the Pac-12 championship with a new partner. And it's the last tournament of the year. Good luck. Basically.
Well, I guess on a couple different levels, having grown up and
Yeah.
started my career and most of my half of my life in Oregon, I'm a Pac-12 guy from back when it was the Pac-8. So when you mentioned Pac-12, I love it. Uh, so how did that go? I got to ask. You're playing the
Yeah.
fours instead of the sixes, new partner. How did it go?
It went great. I mean, I was very determined that at some point, an opportunity would appear, like would come up. I think I'm a firm believer is like luck is what happens when preparedness meets opportunity. So every weekend I wasn't traveling with the team. I was out training on the sand privately by myself and not telling anyone. I was like, okay, I'm just going to go get extra reps. I'm going to do extra work. So when an opportunity does present itself, I'll be able to play in a game. And also experience is important. I had already played in three Pac-12 championships at the time and against these teams, so I understood the pressures and how to play there. But it went really, really well. I went in and actually my partner and I, so if for those not familiar with beach volleyball at the college level, there's five pairs of two. And three of your pairs have to win to beat the school. And so it came down. We were tied 2-2 with the school, Cal, and it was the quarterfinals of the Pac-12 championship. And it came down to my partner and I's court. We won by two in a third set to qual upset Cal for the first time going to get fourth in the Pac-12 championship, and then that qualified us for the NCAA championship Sweet 16 for the first time in Gulf Shores. And then I was able to the next week travel and compete in the NCAAs, which was absolutely incredible. But another call out for athletic directors, that wouldn't have happened also had I not had support of our personal team's athletic director. Our assigned team's athletic director and I had worked together, and he had been very involved with our program and making sure we have everything we need and all equipment and, getting to know every player. And so when we were struggling, when the coaches went and spoke to him before the Pac-12 championship, we're struggling, what should we do? He threw out an idea of like, why don't you try Kate? She was really good in the past. And that actually helped a lot in their decision to play me.
Wow. Again, things coming together as they should. Very cool. Okay. Let's go and take another quick break. And when we come back, if you were listening carefully, Kate mentioned she was in the midst of all these things she was doing. She was also trying to start a new project that actually turned out to be incredibly successful. We're going to hear about all of that and more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the different events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be like a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about teachers, sponsors? You got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their products. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com for more information. And we want to say thanks to Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is Kate Fitzgerald. Kate, you've shared your journey, growing up, high school athlete, collegiate D1 athlete, but that's not all of your story. You actually became a founder and ultimately a CEO of your own company while you were still in college. I think the lessons that you can share with our listeners who are primarily athletic directors on marketing, et cetera, are invaluable. So can you take us all through your journey in that part of your life? How did VB America become a thing?
Yeah, it started with an idea. I was in the car headed to a volleyball tournament over the summer in California when everything, name, image, and likeness, rules and regulations changed. Basically, I was sitting in the car and I said, this is making an impact in college sports. I want to take advantage of it, but I love Livy Dunn. I don't have a following like her. That's not, where I could leverage NIL. So I looked to my family and I said, I had an idea in high school. I was playing on different teams and I was looking for a way to show my passion for volleyball off the court. but I couldn't find anything. So I decided to create my own and launch a VB America volleyball lifestyle clothing brand. Launched it over that summer, worked with my family, my dad to build out a website and learn how to build an LLC, and then went back to school and I actually talked to the compliance director and said, "Hey, am I allowed to do this? Will I get in trouble? Will I lose eligibility?" They said, "We have no idea. We need to send you to somewhere else to talk to." And I was brand new, like, we don't know. No one knows. And so then it was actually the help. They sent me to another associate athletic director at ASU, Marcus Williams, and he connected me with the broader group of Venture Devils and a mentor, Jeff Kanowski, who's now a co-founder with me for another project called the Student Athlete Venture Studio. But my athletic directors connected me and supported me with the resources ASU had for entrepreneurship. And that gave me mentorship, opportunities for grant funding. They supported me in between tournaments and games, coaches and the directors did to pitch for grant funding with the rest of non-athlete students. And that really is what kickstarted the journey and then carried it through.
So again, you went through all the steps to, make sure it was legal. You have this inspiration, this idea to start something.
Yeah.
What were some of those foundational steps that you had to take from, I guess, from an organizational standpoint to get Volleyball America up and running?
You know, I my my dad and I joke about this a lot. There wasn't even ready, fire, aim. It was just fire. I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun." Oh, there's like, I mean, there's so many resources online now. There's Shopify and, drop shipping, and there's so many different things. So that's what we did. I just said, "Okay." I took call. I had by that point earned a scholarship, so I took some of my college savings, and I launched the website, filed the LLC. Again, you can find this online on how to do it or talk to many mentors around you. And then once I got connected to the resources in the Venture Devils program and my mentor, Jeff Kanowski, through the athletic directors at ASU, that's when I kind of laid the foundation down and learned how to build an executive summary, how to build a pitch deck, which then led me to pitching in ASU's program where students are allowed to pitch for grant funding to launch their ideas. It's called Venture Devils. And I did that pitch. I earned $15,000 in grant funding to launch VB America. And I actually did the pitch for that in between games at one of my other Pac-12 championships, which is another funny story. But that's kind of the foundational layout is it was just like, this is the next step. Okay, here we go. I mean, I actually even, the story to get licensed with the university and sell that way in itself was different too.
So, I think I remember that whole post about the winning the grant and getting started there. I think that's what attracted me to your profile initially. But for our listeners, what is Volleyball America? Why should they care?
Yeah, Volleyball America is a volleyball lifestyle clothing brand. It's designed to allow fans, families, and players to sport their passion off the court. At the time when I launched it, volleyball was still very underlooked. There wasn't any of the leagues that are now out there today. Now there's Love B Volleyball League, which is partnered with Skims. It's raised over $170 million to launch, a true youth volleyball league. So when I started it, it was really just a way to give a platform to volleyball fans. It's one of the largest women's sports in the world. It's the only sport where the women naturally dominate the men's league. And so it was really an opportunity to highlight women's sports and give them an ability to stylishly sport their passion off the court and create like a community around volleyball.
Mhm. Oh, it sounds very cool. Now that it's been up and running for a while, what's your feeling about it? Have you met goals? Are you, what's the next big thing for Volleyball America, if I could be so bold?
No, yeah, please do. With Volleyball America, I think the biggest thing for me is it was a learning experience. I'm a huge proponent of in college should be your time to experiment and try things, whether internships, whatever that may be, to learn what you actually want to do. So I always say with VB America, if it closed down tomorrow, I had the success of learning an entire new side of myself through entrepreneurship. I didn't know I was interested in public speaking, learning business hands-on. And so to me alone, that brings success. Being only 23 years old and be able to do that, that is a success there. We built ultimately out at one point we had the excuse me, I'm drawing a blank, collegiate line. And so we got licensed actually again through the connections of my athletic directors at ASU with the university licensing director and got the ASU license. We sold in ASU bookstores, licensed with 8 universities, sold in bookstores like USC, Stanford, and I learned supply chain, product management, and just so many ins and outs of business through that. Now we're operating mostly really just through e-commerce and club wholesale, so helping small beach volleyball clubs and larger beach volleyball and indoor clubs locally, and really, I mean, anywhere in the US, but right now targeting in Arizona, help them build out like a street style, their travel gear and stuff like that, and really creating a three-step process to simplify the production needs for coaches and athletic directors at the youth level. And then we operate as an e-commerce site at vbamerica.com.
Well, we're going to give out, websites and emails and all that in a minute, but just everything that you just shared, for a younger AD, a younger listener, if you will, just underscores the value of number one, getting involved. You made those connections as a player with the various athletic directors, associate athletic directors, took that leap with student athlete leadership. Um, it's cliche, but it's true. Followed your dream, uh, leveraged in a very positive way those connections. And now, as you said, at 23, you've got a pretty darn good resume as you continue your journey. As we like to say, the best is yet to come. You've already, had success at a number of levels. Let's go and give out those websites. Somebody wants to find out more about VB America, or they want to reach out to Kate Fitzgerald, maybe add you to their network. How do they do that?
I would go to katefitzgerald.com. That's where I have everything. I have bio, media, I have information about VB America and the links to vbamerica.com, and then also information around the really exciting, my main focus right now, which is our Student Athlete Venture Studio and the Sport X program
And,
at ASU.
and that's a great segue. Thanks for setting me up. We're going to be talking about all that in our next segment. Let's go and take a break, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We also want to say thank you to our great friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing expert. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 schools and colleges across the country. It's professional graphic design made easy. Gipper's going to give you the tools, the templates to tell your story, to engage your audience, and help grow your brand. And whether you're putting up a social media post to celebrate a victory or creating an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that your athletic department is doing, the team at Gipper is going to have you up and running in no time. Like I said, it's professional graphic design made easy. How easy? Well, it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com for more information. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's degree from the Ohio program, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their master's degree, they were also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And we want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game with their suite of solutions that include things like, oh, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the number one digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more? Whether you're an athletic director, a principal, even a head coach, Hometown is going to help you save time, raise more money, and bring your entire community together. That's hometown.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Once again, welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Kate Fitzgerald. Kate, the Volleyball America platform is something that I think a lot of people would say, all right, I've done that. I can relax. But you didn't. Okay. You're still going. And you're also the co-founder of SportX Student Athlete Venture Studio. What's that all about?
Yeah, thank you. So in my senior year, while I was president of the Student Athletic Council, I was really fortunate to be in, like I said, our athletic directors were welcoming to the student athletes that were in leadership and invited us into board meetings in different areas, which was incredible. And I really got to hear the business of athletics and NIL and where is the future going? And I noticed from my perspective, I thought, there's going to reach a point where companies and athletes are not seeing a return on investment. A lot of money is being thrown around. There's collectives, there's no rules, there's nothing being built. And ultimately, I use myself as a test case. And I started my company. And then in my senior year, when I had enough foundation laid out for VB America and enough, some metrics that I've met, I then went to companies and proposed to get an NIL deal that way, as leveraging myself. I went to groups and organizations that valued female entrepreneurship, small businesses, and athletics to receive NIL deals outside of just, I didn't have the big social media following. So I leveraged that and I was able my senior year to be the highest earning Olympic sport female athlete and receive and do TV commercials with Desert Financial Credit Union, work with the fall at bookstores and do meet and greets and a lot of really cool things. And so use that as a test case to ultimately build out the Student Athlete Venture Studio, which is looking at NIL through entrepreneurship and career development because NIL is wonderful at the level of revenue share. And of course, there's, great sponsorships across, student athletes like Olivia Dunn, which is great, but a lot of athletes do not get to experience that or don't know how to get started. So we look at NIL through the Venture Studio of entrepreneurship and career development.
So, boy, I've got a ton of questions. Good for you for having confidence in yourself. You, as they like to say, you bet on yourself, and that bet I think paid off very well. Um, how how was your success received within the Arizona State University athletic community? Was it, wow, Katie, a great job, or was there any jealousy or bumps like that? I'm curious. How was your success received?
I mean, the athletic department was very supportive. I think that we equally got a return PR investment there, right? I mean, to promote this is what our student athletes are doing.
Oh yeah.
The athletic department was very supportive of that. So I definitely didn't have any issues in that case. I think you're with a group of 18 to 23-year-olds there and girls that are highly competitive in different things. So yes, there's going to be moments where, especially at the time, I look back now and I really don't think there was, but in the moment
Mhm.
I would be like, people, I mean, I remember waiting to post the commercial I did for months with Desert Financial because I was almost embarrassed. I was like, I don't have 10,000 followers and I did a TV commercial. I don't think I should. I felt like imposter syndrome. And so, but then once I posted it, I had a lot of support and shared it. I had a lot of support. And so I think if you're able to really stay true to yourself and, this, and you can back it up with your action. Everyone saw around me that I meant what I was saying, that I was working hard or building. I wasn't just, saying, talking, talk. I was actually putting work in. And so I think that made a difference. But ultimately, you're going to receive everything. I don't think I ever received backlash from someone that I don't know. I think that it was very supportive overall, and especially from the athletic department.
Well, hopefully they were coming to you and saying, "Hey, Katie, how can I do that? Can you help me, build that?"
Yeah. I had a
And
lot of athletes do that. That's actually what led to the idea of the venture studio is I didn't think that there was anything more to it. I was like, well, this is just the map I laid out for myself. Great, I'll graduate, move on. But then I had in my senior year a lot of freshmen and junior athletes approach me and say, I want to get involved with NIL. How did you get involved with NIL? How are you doing this? I want to start a company. I was shocked how many other athletes wanted to start a company. And I was like, even if it was just like a philanthropic way, they wanted to start a foundation or even landscaping businesses. And I was like, these many student athletes are out here with that same passion. I really thought I was siloed. I hadn't met anyone else, and none of my close friends were in that same boat at the time. And so once I heard that feedback, is when I went to Jeff Kanowski, who was originally my mentor, and he had started building out this plan for Sport X, which is a larger involvement. And I said, I think we should take what Venture Devils has done with ASU and specialize it in a way around sports to create some really unique opportunities for students.
Yeah, again, just so very cool. This is going to make a great feature for your next segment on the podcast. And you brought up a point. You didn't have 10,000 followers, but as you went on to share, you're actually you were a Division I athlete, competing at the highest level successfully, and you're doing these other things. I think some people with 10,000 followers, they've somehow become an influencer, but they're not doing anything. And so they've got these clicks, but there's not a lot of substance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to build out is the structure. Is so
Mhm.
when you have deals, there's structure and there's an alignment. So there's actually, again, return on investment. And not only that, I could get into a whole area around athlete mental health, but creating identities for these athletes because yeah, there's people, you get a following, but what's your brand? What are you selling and what's your structure? Because that will align rather than everyone who was a barstool athlete. You're actually have a niche and then you're able to work with companies that align with you and then you're able to get a larger investment from their side. You're able to have a brand to build off of post sports, even if it is a sports brand. And then these companies are going to keep wanting to work with you. And so I do think that's our entire goal is to help build out these identities and a structure for these student athletes.
Well, so many great points. Can you share a little bit more about how it all came to life? Because everybody's got an idea, everybody has ideas, but they don't, for whatever reason, act on them. How did this come to life for you?
Yeah, so Jeff and I both are very much entrepreneurial at heart. And so we started going and meeting in like his office and whiteboarding sessions and building out ideas. And then we originally pitched just the idea to build within the Sun Devil Athletic Department. I was a student athlete, and so I was president of the Student Athletic Council, and I kind of leveraged that. And I was like, "Hi, can I have a meeting with X, Y, and Z? I have an idea I want to share with you." And went in and said, "This is my idea." And they were like, "Well, that's a great idea, but athletics can't give you money to start this right now. Like that's just, you can try to implement it through SAC and see if it'll last. But I really wanted to build it out more, and we both did. So we kept messing around with ideas and partners, and ultimately ended up getting a collaboration between GoDaddy and ASU Edson and Entrepreneur School of Edson and Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Excuse me, but GoDaddy gave us around a $1 million investment, both in kind and in cash, to help launch the venture studio, starting at ASU with opportunities for afterwards, and giving really great in kind resources to student athletes to help them build their brand and web presence, as well as grant funding and other opportunities in entrepreneurial ways for athletes to launch companies. And so that really has helped. And now we've built on top of that since launching in January, we've blown metrics out of the water. So it's been wonderful.
Wow. I have to ask, okay, GoDaddy, they're obviously a major, worldwide no name. They do Super Bowl commercials. When when you and your partner got that $1 million deposit, was there any temptation to go out and buy that Ferrari or something
Oh no.
else?
I think that no. Did not work like that at all. No, I think sometimes in business, right, numbers are heard and there's a lot said. And it was part in kind through products for
Right.
athletes and part in cash for different areas of funding. However, we were built up through ASU as well. So we're in that partnership within like Arizona State University. And I think it was mostly like a, okay, we can actually do this. Like, let's make it happen. And so that was the exciting part was like, okay, let's make this happen and then keep bringing in partners and building and growing. And I'm obviously addicted and love trying to build and grow things. So, yeah.
Oh, no. Well, again, that question was somewhat tongue in cheek. Okay. So if I see posts of you driving through Phoenix and that,
Yeah, my pink, like a pink Lamborghini right
there you
there.
go. Oh, I see Lamborghini. I love it. Um, Kate, this has just been fantastic. Great lessons on ingenuity, perseverance. I just love it. We're definitely going to have to get you back on the podcast, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with a segment called the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Now, you're not an athletic director, but I think you know your way around the world of athletics. We're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsored this particular segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director, a brand new leader on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put three things in the toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Kate Fitzgerald puts in her new AD toolbox. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. You know, at my school, we use surveys for everything for student athletes, for our coaches, for teachers, also used them for parents. And the information that would come back on these surveys was largely over the top positive. You know, people liked what we were doing. We also got to hear from those squeaky wheel parents that we were already hearing from, but the surveys gave us a chance to hear their concerns and address them before they turned into something big. But going back to that positive feedback, having all that data was incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with that frustrated parent or sometimes your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Kate Fitzgerald. I think I'm going to call her a new friend of the show. Tremendous background in athletics and entrepreneurship. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new AD, a brand new leader on their very first job. But I'm only going to let her put three items in the toolbox. So, Kate, what three items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
I would say keep your door open. So I guess a screwdriver, take the hinges off the door, keep the door open, to your office and listen to your student athletes. They are your customers and they are the ones doing the work that you are trying to do your work for. So keep the door open. Focus on return on investment for all those around you, especially now if you're at the college level with NIL. That's a huge area is make sure your athletes are getting a return on their investment of coming to the university so they stay and don't enter the transfer portal. And then those alumni, collaborators, whoever else it may be, are all getting return on investment. That's important. And the biggest tool in my toolkit is don't forget your smaller sports. Don't forget over your Olympic sports. Don't forget the smaller sports, although they may not be bringing in the revenue that football or a sport like basketball may be bringing in. Your smaller sports bring a lot more to the university through culture, experience, and Olympics. So don't forget the smaller, quote unquote, smaller sports.
Boy, I'm scribbling those down as I'm listening to those. The uh, the open door, so important that if you don't have that, it's going to be almost impossible to accomplish anything that you want to get done. And I love your turn of phrase on return on investment for the student athletes, for parents, for coaches, for everybody in your program. Great, great advice. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to reach out, find out more about Volleyball America, your other ventures, or just wants to connect with Kate Fitzgerald. And listeners, I think you got a great resource here. What's the best way that they can connect with you?
KateFitzgerald.com.
Hey, well, that's pretty darn easy.
Yep.
Kate, thank you so much for sharing. Congratulations on all these things that you have accomplished already
Thank you.
at 23. And we are definitely going to get you back on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and please reach out. I'm excited to come back.
Okay. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Education Lady Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. And before we go, Kate, you've got a big announcement for our listeners.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Very exciting. I will be launching a podcast of my own, not only going through reflecting the experience I had, but bringing the reality of college sports to the families and friends who need them. My goal with Athletes Off Duty is to bring the stories and steps straight from the athletes who've made it so families can take what they need to get there without the smoke and mirrors, but just raw guidance and mentorship from industry leaders and athletes who've been successful in sport. I've lived through it, and now I'm building a platform I wish I had to go back and listen to at that young age when everything was confusing and my parents and I had no idea what we were doing. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Also, can find it on my website and LinkedIn as it launches.
So that's Athletes Off Duty. Boy,
Yes.
I love the title. There's actually a podcast. It was kind of one of the founding podcasts for ADs called Off Duty ADs. But I love the Athletes Off Duty and the subject you talked about. I think that's going to be a very, very popular listen. So, listener, watch out for Athletes Off Duty, hosted by our very own Kate Fitzgerald.
Thank you.
Okay. Once again, we appreciate you listening. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.